Alice in Wonderland is a masterclass of character animation. In a decade dominated by graceful Cinderellas and fairy tale Peter Pans, it also stands out as one of the most tonally unique films in Disney's animated history. You really won't find another film in Disney's lineup quite like it, and that's part of what makes it so memorable, even 70 years after its initial release. There's a reason why Tim Burton's live-action remake raked in over $1 billion at the box office in 2010. People are still fascinated by the world that Lewis Carroll began to reveal over 150 years ago. Wonderland has a tendency to stay in your mind long after you've left the rabbit hole behind. And what's extraordinary about this particular adaptation is that, beyond being associated with children's literature, Disney and Lewis Carroll don't really have that much in common. Lewis Carroll was a gifted professor of mathematics, a poet, a political satirist, and a pioneer of photography. And although the Disney studio eventually made history in the latter profession, especially in regards to animation photography, they weren't exactly known for logic or intellectual reasoning in the traditional sense. Not that the Disney artists couldn't operate in that capacity if need be, it simply wasn't the default mentality of the studio at the time. But what the Disney artists lacked in intellectualism, they more than made up for in artistic imaginations. And this is the true genius of Disney's adaptation of Lewis Carroll's world-famous novels: the ability to capture the wit, whimsy, and character of Wonderland in a rich visual sense. It's no secret that Alice's Adventures in Wonderland is a virtual nightmare to adapt, because it has no narrative through line or continuity. It is basically composed of vignettes or character encounters, very loosely tied together by Alice's bewildered wanderings. Rather than fight this structure, which is what many adaptations have done, and create a narrative structure where there was virtually none, the Disney studio embraced the problem and decided that the character-driven performances were what they would structure this film around. And in a way, this is what makes Disney's Alice in Wonderland so utterly memorable. Most of Carroll's wit, wordplay, and humor was retained. It was simply translated from the written word to the drawn figure. And although literary scholars criticized the film at the time for not sticking closely enough to the book, a criticism that virtually every book-to-movie adaptation falls prey to, I believe it captures the spirit and charm of the original book while carving out its own place in popular culture. After all, it isn't meant to replace the book, which, if you haven't read by now, you absolutely should, as it provides its own unique experience. And being different from the source material can sometimes increase the entertainment value of both. A good adaptation honors the source material without copying it, while simultaneously creating new fans of the story that have an increased curiosity and interest in the original. To quote Walt Disney, "It has been my hope that our fairy tale films will result in a desire of viewers to read again the fine old original tales and enchanting myths on the home bookshelf or the school library. Our motion picture productions are designed to augment them, not to supplant them." And I believe the Disney artists accomplished this through some of the best and most imaginative character animation to ever come out of the studio. I mean, honestly, how many of you, when I first mentioned the title Alice in Wonderland, immediately thought of images of the Mad Hatter, Cheshire Cat, White Rabbit, or one of the other memorable animated faces in this film? The absolutely amazing performances in this film, given by some of the greatest comedians and vocal personalities of their generation, provided an animator's paradise, where the artists and draftsmen at Disney could make the impossible probable with pencil on paper. Each character is imbued with an entertaining personality that is completely distinct and unique. The casting is absolutely perfect, and every single performance is simply a joy to watch. There are so many amazing vocal performances in this film that I don't even have time to list them all here, and I really recommend looking up the cast and their filmography when you get the chance. Whether it's Verna Felton's over-the-top outrage, Richard Hayden's silky smooth delivery, the rapid-fire wit of Jerry Colonna, the absent-minded madness of Ed Wynn, the slightly off-settling whimsy of Sterling Holloway, or even the curious innocence of Catherine Beaumont as Alice herself, each character steals the scene and moves the audience swiftly through the story. But it's the animation and design in this film that truly shines and drives home the amazing imagination of Lewis Carroll's original work, while also augmenting the vocal performances. It is a testament to the Disney artist's skill that such impossibilities as a talking cat disappearing and reappearing from thin air seem so completely natural, believable, and entertaining. Even the distinct color styling and memorable design, both influenced largely by Disney legend Mary Blair, seem so effortless at ingraining themselves in the audience's collective consciousness. This film is pure eye candy in every regard, and visually distinct in a multitude of ways from any of the other Disney animated features before or after. And I know I sound like a broken record because I use every opportunity I have to gush about what I believe is a highly underrated medium in animation. But Alice in Wonderland is a great example of why animation, specifically hand-drawn character animation, is such an astounding art form. Films like these are perfect showcases for what animation can do, because they have characters that stretch the limits of what's physically possible in real life. And yet, if they're done right, the animators' drawings can conjure up real living and breathing personalities that can create what animators call the illusion of life in the minds of their audience with nothing more than pencil and paper. Alice is a masterclass of how to interpret imagination. The images conjured up in Carroll's words are now given new life in their manifestation in visual reality. And it's extraordinary because the Disney interpretation often becomes the definitive version of these characters. And that's why I think that this is a worthy adaptation, even if it doesn't follow the books as closely as some would like. It's not meant to substitute for the original, but rather, it's meant as an interpretation to enrich it. The Disney film provides its own unique perspective in its own visual medium in a way that the text simply cannot accomplish, and the book can create things that the film could never pull off. And thus, the film serves as a wonderful companion, rather than simply a copy of the original. Every artist is going to have their own unique perspective on a story, and that's what makes adaptation so risky, but also so rewarding. It's exciting to try and manifest your imagination into reality. And for those who love drawing or have an interest in writing, keep dreaming and imagining in your own unique way. We need artists like you. Who knows, maybe the characters you draw or write will transcend the story you tell and become cultural icons like they did for the artists that have come before you. You never know until you try.